My sighting happened over 40 years ago, and until this time, I have never written or reported anything about it, except for relaying my experience to a few family members and friends. This is the first time I've told my story. I'm 69 years old, and I believe it's time to tell my story. I'm sorry to say that time has invaded my memory, and I don't recall all the exact details. I believe it was the fall of 1977. My boyfriend and I were on our way to Kalaloch Lodge from Seattle for the weekend. I believe we left after work on a Friday, took the ferry to Kingston, and then traveled south along Highway 101. The incident occurred somewhere between Forks and there. It was very late, very dark, a clear night with few cars on the road. My boyfriend was driving, and we were quiet, each in our own thoughts. I love animals, and I'm always on the lookout for animal sightings. I happened to notice something that looked like an animal coming up ahead on the right side of the road, in the shoulder. I didn't mention it. Instead, I was concentrating on the approaching animal and trying to figure out what it was. As the creature came into focus, I noticed it was about 4 feet tall, standing perfectly upright, long arms, long legs, very thin with long brown hair covering his entire body and face. He was standing still, but waving his arms across his face. As we passed him, I looked out the side passenger window directly into his face, and he looked directly into mine. I gasped with surprise and disbelief. Unfortunately, my boyfriend did not see the creature and asked me what was wrong. I can't put into words what happened at that moment. I saw something that didn't fit into my realm of knowledge, beliefs, or experiences. I was scared to death and scared into utter silence. I was afraid to look back. Did it jump onto the car? Was it running behind the car? Immediately, the description that came to my mind was a monkey man. It wasn't until we arrived at the lodge that I told my boyfriend what I saw. Once I'd had more time to calm down and think about the experience, I wondered if it was the headlights on bright that could have caused the creature to freeze and wave his arms in an attempt to block the lights from his eyes. For years after this experience, whenever I retold my story to friends or family, I always referred to the creature as a monkey man. And it was not until years later, when I first viewed the Patterson-Gimlin video of Sasquatch, that I thought, this is what I saw, only smaller. I do believe what I saw was a young Sasquatch. I cannot be certain what I saw that night, but I know for absolute certainty is what I saw is not known to any animal that's in the Pacific Northwest. Thursday, May 14th, 2020, 10:30 a.m. Hartsburg is a small community of around 100 people. The area is on the bottoms of the Missouri River. A bike trail called Caddy Trail runs north and south through Hartsburg. My wife was taking care of her 93-year-old mother, and I decided to drive down to the river and look around. There were a lot of people riding bikes on the trail because of the pandemic going strong, and nobody could work or shop. It was a sunny, warm day. I was driving south slowly when I looked up ahead on the road, and I saw a big figure moving across the road in a very fast pace. Not running, but walking in big, fast strides. It looked like a very big person, tall, thick, and brown in color all over. I thought it was weird for a guy to be walking across a farmer's field, coming east from the river, and heading into a straight line in the bluffs. Farmers will ride their ATVs when they are in the fields checking on things. I thought it was wearing a heavy brown coat with a cone-shaped hood. There was freshly planted soy in the fields, and I could see this thing from head to foot. When I first saw it, it was about 100 yards away. I was driving slowly. By the time I reached where he crossed the road, he had covered at least 200 yards and walking away from me. I had no camera or binoculars with me that day. I turned down a farmer's dirt road and to head toward the thing. When I merged on the road and drove toward it, it turned north and headed toward Katy Trail. I never got any closer to him than 100 yards, and that was because it was moving very fast, swinging its arms. I drove back to my folks' house after that. I was fishing on a wetland area that is owned by my family. My mother, grandmother, 3-year-old daughter, and son were with me. This is an isolated farm that I don't want to ID any further online, just to help keep lurkers off the property. It is loaded with wildlife. We were sitting, spread out along a small channel. My mother, grandmother, and daughter were at the end of the channel, and my son, who was around 7 at the time, was sitting next to me. My daughter was crying because she was getting in trouble for getting too close to the water's edge. It should be noted that there are a ton of alligators in the wetland and the channel. I had looked in their direction several times, and on the last time, I caught movement from the corner of my eye. I sat quietly trying to get a better look at what was moving. It was across the channel from us in a densely wooded area. I was worried it was a bear. Then it stepped out of the trees and was looking in the direction of my daughter crying. It stood there for about 30 seconds before slipping back behind another tree. I didn't alert my family at the moment, hoping to catch another view of it. It was very large, around 8 feet tall, broad shoulders with shaggy, matted fur. It stood on its back legs and appeared to be brownish to dark brown, with some lighter brown to gray around the facial area. Its arms hung down at its sides just as a human would. It made no sounds except the crunching of leaves and the breaking of a small stick here and there as it left the area. I didn't notice any abnormal sounds prior to me seeing it move. It walked away when my daughter stopped crying. I do believe it was only curious as to her crying. It didn't seem aggressive in its stance or movement. It seemed to be just sneaking a peek. I have no clue how long it had been watching us. I never felt in danger either, but I did notice a skunk trash type of odor after the sighting, but not during. I decided it was time to leave after about 30 minutes of no further sightings, and only told my family once we were in the vehicle about to leave. This event took place in 1992 in the Feather River Canyon in Plumas County, California. I and a good friend of mine were traveling north on Highway 70, just south of the Highway 89 intersection, known as the Greenville Y. The time of year, if I remember right, was fall or spring. I remember it was not cold but not hot either, and because it is heavily wooded with evergreens, I can't place which season it was. It was dark, roughly 9:30 or 10 p.m. We rounded a left turn at 45 miles an hour, and halfway through the turn, the headlights caught an animal standing in the right-hand lane. I had time to react because of the slower speeds we were traveling at, so I turned into the left-hand lane, avoiding hitting it. I was very awed at the animal because neither of us recognized it for something we knew. It was roughly 4 seconds from sighting to passing it. I saw a large animal on all fours. It was facing left toward the left lane. Dark brown or black fur that was medium length. It was almost the size of a horse. As we rounded that corner, I noticed the rear of its first, then scanned across its body towards its head. As I was seeing the legs, that they were fairly long. Then I got to the head. This is where I was surprised because the face was flat like a person's face. No extended mouth or snout. As we passed it, it lowered its head to peer through the passenger side window of our 1987 Dodge Caravan that I was driving at the time. I live in the area, Susanville, and actually grew up here in the county, but did live in Roseville, California for 22 years and traveled through the Highway 70 Feather River Canyon to and from Susanville to visit my folks often. I have never seen anything like this creature, nor have I seen anything like it again since.